When you talk about bumping a player, it's pretty much...
Great courage. One that says the bump is dead, that's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent. Some of you guys at home might know me as Zirra for other content I make on YouTube, and welcome to my AFL channel, The Hip and Shoulder, where today we're diving back into AFL Supercoach. I'm going to lament on my terrible round 2 score before talking about the trades that I personally am going to make for round 3, as well as talking about some bubble boys and some trades that you guys at home might want to consider for your teams as well. Looking at my round 2 score, I did pretty average. I am not happy at all. I got 1,824, which ranked me in the top 61%. My average score is 1,905. Not a good start. I dropped almost 5,000 in rank. I'm currently ranked outside of the top 100,000. I'm not happy. Didn't win any league wins at all. I have 37 trades in the bank coming off of the round 2 trades that I made and using my first boost, and I will be using another boost this week. Crazy shit to think that I'm boosting this early, but some of them are going to be correctional trades this week. Unfortunately, I tried rolling the dice, as you would have seen if you've been following my Supercoach videos, with some pods that kind of have blown up in my face, but there are some trades I want to make now, especially with players on the bubble, that aren't only scoring incredibly well, but are going to generate myself a lot of cash moving forward. And speaking of cash, if you have been following my Supercoach videos, you will know that coming into this round, I am sitting with a very healthy $355,000 in the bank, if you don't mind, coming from the fact that I very stupidly downgraded Zach Fisher to Tom Berry, and Fisher scored over 100, and Berry scored me 24. Yeah, hindsight is a bitch. I'd still back in the decision that I traded Fisher out because it does net me this cash to make some moves, and outside of the trades I'm going to be doing today, I am still going to be left with a healthy amount of money to play around with. There are a number of different trades I've been toying with, so today's video I'm going to show the initial trade I wanted to do, but I might even shift that because I've decided to trade out some different players that I originally had in the mix and bring in some more premium aligned players that are going to fix some holes quite indefinitely. As you can see on screen though, my fucking god, I am glad that it was only best 18 this week, because I had 47 from Sexton, 24 from Berry when I had 59 and 90 on the bench from Cadman and Wilson. I had Weir on the bench for 70 points when I had Berry and Sharp scored sub 60 points. Yeah. Hayden Young 62. Nick Dacos 54. Don't know what the fuck happened with Nick Dacos that game. I really do not. I don't know whether it was the fact that Winhager gave him a bit of attention and he can't cop a tag, so I'm not going to be rage trading Nick Dacos out. I brought Dacos in as a keeper, and I'm not going to budge on him. The two in my defensive line that I am considering moving on over the next couple of weeks is Jaden Short and Hayden Young. Hayden Young obviously not playing the role that people expected him to be playing in that midfield, and when he has been in that midfield, he isn't getting the CBAs, the clearances, the disposals that we expected him to be getting. And then moving back to defense, it's kind of limiting the amount of ball use that he is getting unless he starts taking kick-ins and starts generating easy disposals off of that. And Jaden Short in a very similar position. I expected him to be rolling off of half-back for Richmond this year, and he's playing more up the ground, kind of off of a wing, and I don't like that at all. But I'll be moving Hayden Young on this week. I'll be keeping Jaden Short for one more week. Sydney's going to have the ball up their end a hell of a lot, and I think it opens up opportunity for Jaden Short to hopefully get a decent score, but I've got plans to move Jaden Short on next week. It's just the player I want to bring in has their bye this week, so there's no point doing so. So that's a little bit of a hint at what I'm going to be doing for next week. Reed is one I want to move on as well, but at the moment provides me with a little bit of a chance for a loophole between the likes of Williams and Howes on the ground. At my midfield, you can see my top end players are performing well. Starting Berry over some other players around that price point has been a bit of a shot to the foot. I will be correcting a couple of trades around the forward line in the midfield. I think it's going to be 2 midfield trades. Sam Berry is one that I was considering moving on, but I am going to keep him for another week because he still does have a negative break even with some money to make. Jai Clark on the bench, 123k. He's on the bubble this week, and he's only expected to make roughly around 10 grand. And I don't like that when there are players around or higher than his current price point that are expected to make a lot more money. So that'll be a correctional trade I make, bringing in a rookie that I should have started but faded for Sam Berry. Nic Martin got back to his best, well, not his best, but got back to showing glimpses of his best in round 2. But he's got a huge break even, and he's not going to make that break even, I do not think, and he's going to start hemorrhaging money, and I don't like that fact. And as much as I was going to do the Sam Berry trade initially, I'm going to trade Nic Martin out this week. I feel I want to capitalize on bringing in a player who, to me, is going to be a midfield lock for my team, provided he can keep playing at the level he's playing, and provided he can stay in the team, given that he has had a history in the past of, regardless of playing well, he's been dropped a few times. But I think at this point in time, he's going to be one of the most sought after targets, especially given his price point isn't much far away from Nic Martin. I kept Kieran Briggs for an extra week, and I'm glad he did. He had a monster game against the West Coast. He still dropped in price, but I expected that given the stinker he had the week prior. I'm happy to hold Grundy currently as well. So the Briggs-Grundy combination, I'm digging it. I'm happy. Briggs bounced back. Glad I kept the faith. Heaney, obviously my big trade in for round 2, went incredibly well, and I think he will probably be a captain option for me against Richmond. James Jordan, still serviceable, still getting solid points, still making us a lot of money. Taylor Adams is apparently a test for Richmond this week. So for players that were considering Taylor Adams, he's officially, I think, now on our radars to see what role he does play. If he does get midfield minutes, I think it forces James Jordan out to a wing, so I don't know whether he'll start having the same input or whether it will drop. But surely they don't shove Heaney out of that forward line. Nat Fyfe was tactically subbed out of the game against North. He was on track to get 80, 90 points, but I can understand them wanting to kind of put cotton wool on him. He's got an injury-plagued history, so he's still, to me, in my mind, a necessity to have, whether it be as a mid-priced option in your forward line or your midfield. Tom Berry, again, stunk it up, just like many Gold Coast players did. Sexton moved off a halfback flank into the forward line and had a very bad output, so looking at those two very closely, especially given the fact that once they come off their bye next week, there's going to be some forward line options that are going to be on the bubble, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on them, Sam Darcy being one of those biggest watchers. Cadman had a very good game. I'm glad I decided to start him, and Wilson not getting the points I thought he would. I thought he would be getting more, but he's still generating points for us, and he's going to be a money maker. So, moving into this round, the trades I'm going to make, as I said, I will be trading out Hayden Young. I am going to be trading out Nic Martin, and I am going to be trading out Jai Clark. Jai Clark, some might think, is a little bit stupid, but if he's only going to be generating 10 to 15k when there are players that are due to generate a lot more money, just like the player that I'm going to pick first up here, just to validate this selection, I'm happy to bring them in, especially when they're on the bubble, and I think they're going to be worth playing on the field every week, especially given how they have been scoring. I am getting rid of Jai Clark, and I am bringing in Colby McKercher, a player that I had in my starting lineup all preseason and decided to swap to Berry as a point of difference. When you look at McKercher, he is currently set to have a price rise of just under 58,000. And I think given the role he is playing as a halfback flank, he's going to be getting a lot of the ball. I said it when I brought in Zach Fisher initially, that historically you look at the players that play off that halfback role for North Melbourne, they score well. You've got Sheasel, you've got Zeeble. We had Fisher stink it up with his efficiency in round 1, but fixed it up in round 2 and scored over 100. And you've got McKercher, who has gone back-to-back weeks in a big way. I'm pretty sure he scored over 100 the first round, and then second round he scored 95. So happy to bring him in this week. That now gives me the core rookie group of Roberts, Sanders, and McKercher all on the ground, and I think they're all good to play as midfielders on ground. That still gives me the likes of Sharp and Weir on the bench as coverage, and one of Berry or Lyons on the bench as well, which I think I'll probably fade Berry to the bench and have Jared Lyons on the field because I trust Lyons a little bit more, but we'll see how we go. The other midfielder I am going to bring in this week, and this was a bit of a hard discussion internally in my head because I'm wanting to bring Caleb Sarong in before his price rise, because he's going to rise in price. I don't know how much that price rise is going to be, because he is not on the bubble yet. He will be on the bubble. Actually, yeah, he would be. He would be on the bubble, playing his third game this week. So he is going to price rise. Obviously, they only talk about rookies when it comes to the price rising here on Supercoach, on the app anyway. I'm curious to know how much he would improve. I would probably hazard a guess maybe 40-50 grand. So he's going to move up to about, he'll be over 650. I still think I can make moves to bring him in at that point. The player I want to bring in, see, it's an arm wrestle in my mind, because I feel the player I want to bring in is Matt Crouch, and I think at his price point and the role he has been playing, he's going to be a keeper for our midfields provided he stays in that team. And I say that because we saw Nic's drop Crouch to the sandful for a long period of time last year when he had a good run. He was playing incredibly well. He was a player again. I had Matt Crouch in my starting preseason lineup and I faded him for Nic Martin, and I'm spewing I did. I don't know whether if I do that move with Caleb Sarong, if I'm going to have enough money to make the moves I want to do defensively. I could do it. I could do it. Do I go Sarong instead of Matt Crouch? See, when it comes to defense, the player I was thinking of bringing in this week was Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira, and the reason behind that is Brad Crouch has gone down with an injury, so it opens up possibility for maybe Wanganeen-Malira to get some midfield minutes. He's been looking incredibly clean off of halfback. He's finding a lot of the ball. He's very effective with his use, and I really love how he's gone about it. Then on the flip side, you've got Luke Ryan, and I've been really liking how he's been going about it as well. Look, you could go a Tom Stewart here, but I like Luke Ryan's role better. Tom Stewart had a ridiculous amount of intercept marks. If you take those intercept marks away from him, that score drops, and for the amount of intercept marks he had last week, I'm actually shocked he only got 134. If I go Luke Ryan, it's still going to net me 60k in the bank. And this is obviously going to sting me because I'll be going into their bye round with no Sarong, no Ryan, no Fife. But if I was to take out Sarong here and go with Matt Crouch, leaves me with just under 200k to make a move with later on. But I think at this point in time, and I said I might change my changes on the fly here, I'm going to go with Sarong. I feel getting him in before his price points is smart. Sarong's going to be a keeper. He's going to average well over, 100 and 110, 115 for the season. Whereas Matt Crouch not only could be at risk of getting dropped, but we don't know whether if players like Laird or Dawson start having more input, if that's going to affect Crouch's input. And similarly with people that own Dawson, will Matt Crouch continue to get off the chain and stop Dawson from getting those scores? So I'm actually happy to lock in this set of trades here. I've gone for a huge upgrade on both Young and Martin, as well as Clark. McKercher is going to be generating a lot of money. He'll eventually get that defensive DPP as well for me to swap back. So originally I was hoping Nic Martin would be a keeper to move defensively, but McKercher could very well be in the Sheasel mold of being able to be kept in defense for as long as you can, provided he can keep scoring these 90 plus scores, and then move him on when the time is right. Zach Reed again is one I do need to eventually move out, but the time will come when that time comes. If we're going to be looking at some other players that are on the bubble, if you want to start making some moves, when we look in the forward line, Tom Powell has been one of the most traded players in. He has a negative 47 break even. He is looking at a price rise of just under 60,000 as well, which is going to take him to just under 400k. And with the role he's been playing, could be a keeper in your forward lines for a number of weeks until you find a better option. Luke Jackson was one I also considered trading in this week. However, Sean Darcy is back running and training, and I don't know how long he is going to be away from this team. And I think with Sean Darcy back in, it's going to stop Luke Jackson's output. He's not going to score these monster scores. I'm willing to forego Luke Jackson for the time being to see how he and Sean Darcy coexist, and if he continues to still score 100 plus every week, I'll bring him in when the time's right. Other rookies we can potentially look at bringing into your forward lines. When I'll sort by price, because that's probably easier to do so, you idiot. I think one of the most talked about ones would probably be Oliver Dempsey. He's going to cost you a little bit more money. I think he's more around the $180,000, $190,000 mark, if I'm not mistaken. If I can find him. He's definitely around, he's around this mark, I'm sure of it. Oh, 148. Oh, he's actually a lot less than what I thought he was. However, he is looking at a price range of 60k increase, so that's going to take him up to 200k. Was a little bit down on his output in round 2, but round 1 he showed a lot. I love that he gets up the ground, he takes a lot of contested marks, hits the scoreboard, definitely an option. Again, Darcy Wilson, if you don't have him on the bubble this week, projected to make 41k, so he's going to be just under 200,000 as well. Definitely should be one to watch. I think we forego Chris Burgess. I'm not sold on him, unfortunately. 25k to be made. Outside of that, I don't think he's going to generate much money. Buku Kamas is one that I'm going to be watching intently. 35k to be made, a break even of negative 46. However, playing a defensive role could get that backline DPP and could be a swap down the line to bring him in and then have him swap with a Zach Reed and bring in a rookie later on. Harvey Gallagher, I don't know how long he keeps his spot in the team for, only a 20k price rise. Corey Warner, I don't think he's in the conversation. I don't know how long he keeps his job for. Another one I mentioned you should have brought in, or at least considered heading into this round was, or last round rather, was Seth Campbell. Still a negative break even of 12, and he made 28k, just under 180,000. Harvey Thomas was another one I mentioned. He come off of a really big game. He looked very comfortable, but was that because they took on West Coast? Does he slip into lower scores moving forward? I do not know. One that is officially on my radar, and I recommend you guys have on your radar as well, is Tyler Sonzi from Richmond. Had a huge game in the VFL, with more injuries happening with Richmond. Obviously, Jacob Hopper is now going to be out for a further few weeks, getting some surgery done on his knee potentially. Pressy is out for a further 7 to 9 weeks. I think Sonzi gets a chance. He comes in, forward eligibility, 150k, it's going to set you back, but if he plays midfield, he is an inside contested ball winner. I feel he could average, for the games that he plays, anywhere from 80 to 100 points. That could be overestimating, but I think he's going to be one to definitely consider. Outside of that, I don't think there's much, unless you look at a Charlie Lazaro that a lot of people looked at. He's got a negative break even of 5. Watson, I don't think is one we consider. Dersma could be on somebody's radar if you want a scoring option because we know he's going to get game time. I don't think he's going to make much cash, however. Again, slim pickings for rookies because all the rookies that I've got here are potentially the rookies that everybody already has. So I'm just going to go back, correct my trades here. I'm going to go back to bringing in Caleb Sarong. Wasn't on my plans initially, but I am happy to lock him in. Keeper, Luke Ryan, keeper, McKercher for at least until the next set of buys come mid-season. Keeper, still got 60 grand in the bank to play with, so I can make some moves. As I said, next week, Sam Darcy, depending on how he plays this week, is on my radar. Buku Kamas is on my radar. Don't forget to make your moves when it comes to these players that aren't playing this week. I'll probably fade Tom Berry. He's still got a negative break even though. Sexton has a negative break even as well. So I'm tempted to give them both at least one more week of playing before making a judgment call. However, with the likes of Sam Darcy and Buku Kamas on the bubble next week, I feel I've got to fade one of these players. Tom Berry is probably the likely one to be faded for Sam Darcy at this point in time. I'm going to play Lions this week on the... see, this is going to be interesting. This is why I'm glad I have a loophole option here this week. I am going to put the emergency on Jared Lyons. If he performs well enough, then I put Weir on the ground and I'll probably take off a Sam Berry. I can do a similar thing here this weekend with Howes and with Williams because Williams plays first. So I will emergency Williams. If he underperforms, Howes stays on the field. And if he performs well, Reed goes on the field and I get that score. Remember that emergency scores aren't guaranteed total in your best 18. There has to be a non-playing player, to my belief anyway, on the field to take that emergency spot. And obviously, I've got no bench coverage this week for my forward line, but I'm happy to put those 5 out there. The only reason I considered Jackson slightly this week is because I don't have Kieran Briggs playing, and obviously Livingston was out of necessity because of his price point to allow me to get somebody else. But I'm happy with this lineup. As I said, next week I'm moving Jaden Short on for somebody who has played incredibly well, and I've been blown away by how well this person's playing. I feel it's the best form I've seen him in 5 years. The best form I've seen since 2019 minimum. Berry, as I said, still a negative break even. Depending on how much money he generates, he could be on the cusp of being moved out next week. But I'm happy to have this team running around. When I get my full team out there, it's going to be Bontempelli, Sarong, Rosie, Green. Butters is officially on my radar. There's a few other players that have high break-evens that are going to drop in the next couple of weeks as well. So the likes of Clayton Oliver, Tom Liberatore, Jordan Dawson. These are players we can now start at least computing in our minds if we don't have them already to kind of target, because they're going to start dropping quite severely in price and we can pick them up at bargain prices. But I'm happy with my team, I think. Let me know in the comment section down below if you do play Supercoach, if you like the trades I'm doing. If you don't, let me know the trades you're considering this week as well. But thank you for joining me for another video. Hit that like button down below if I did entertain you enough and you do like what I'm doing. And hit that subscribe button as well if you want to get on board the community that we are slowly piecing together. I would appreciate it if you did. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.